Sparkling Power is the most sought after flavor power in Legends ZA. Every shiny hunting guide swears by it. And if you're just hunting regular shinies or the legendaries, they're absolutely right. But what if I told you that for shiny alphas in particular, Sparkling Power can actually sabotage your hunts? That the very mechanic designed to help you find and keep shinies is secretly working against you. In this video, we're gonna break down why you need the shiny charm and how to get it, just how Sparkling Power can prevent you from encountering shiny alphas, and the best shiny hunting methods to actually find the shiny Pokemon you're looking for, even without perfect donuts. I'm Zane, aka Direwolf. Let's get into it. First, let's establish a solid foundation. If you don't have the shiny charm yet, stop what you're doing and go get it. Don't even think about hunting shiny Pokemon until you have it. Imagine you jump into a hyperspace hole that contains your favorite Pokemon, Slowpoke. You don't have to explain to anybody why that's your favorite Pokemon. That's between you and Arceus. But you really want a shiny Slowpoke. Each time you encounter a Pokemon, the game checks yes or no, is this Pokemon a shiny? And the chances of it coming out with a yes, this Pokemon is shiny is 1 in 4,096. You do get the added benefit of encountering 6 Pokemon in a specific cluster every time you encounter them in the hyperspace region. That means you have to encounter almost 700 different hyperspace clusters before you find your shiny Slowpoke. But this is where Sparkling Power comes in. For every level of Sparkling Power, you get 1 additional roll. So at Sparkling Power level 1, you get 1 additional roll on top. Level 2, you get 2 rolls, and level 3, you get 3 rolls for a grand total of 4 shiny rolls every time you encounter a Pokemon in hyperspace that matches your Sparkling Power type. This means you go from checking 6 different Pokemon to essentially checking 24 different Pokemon every time you encounter a cluster. That drops our odds from 1 in 683 down to 1 in 171. That's way better. But here's where the shiny charm changes everything. It locks in that +3 shiny rolls permanently for everything, inside hyperspace, outside of hyperspace, for every type. You get that +3 shiny rolls. And because it's permanently available, it doesn't use up one of your flavor power slots on your donut. And it stacks with Sparkling Power. So the game is no longer checking 4 times per Pokemon with Sparkling Power level 3. It's checking 7 times. That's 42 individual checks every time you encounter a cluster in hyperspace. Getting the shiny charm has never been easier. All you have to do is get rank 50 in Mabel's research. And thanks to the Mega Dimension DLC for expanding Mabel's research, you no longer need 1,000 Pokemon battles to get the shiny charm. You can get it just through normal gameplay. There is no reason not to have the shiny charm if you're looking to shiny hunt. So I strongly encourage you to go pursue that right now if you don't already have it. Now, I hear you. You just spent all this time telling me that more shiny rolls equals more shinies, and now you're trying to tell me that Sparkling Power is bad for shiny hunting? Make that make sense. Gladly. See, we're trying to solve 2 problems at once, so let's take a step back and let's talk about the first problem, which is that of diminishing returns. With no boost, we had a 1 in 683 chance of finding a shiny every time we encountered a cluster of Pokemon in hyperspace. With 3 additional rolls, which is either Sparkling Power level 3 or the shiny charm, those odds dropped to 1 in 171. That's a really big improvement. If we add 3 more rolls, what's that gotta do? Change it to what? 1 in 40? 1 in 50? Oh, well, that can't be right. Unfortunately, it is, and this is what we call diminishing returns. For every shiny roll you have, the subsequent rolls become less and less valuable. Even if you had the super special mega shiny charm that gave you an additional 4,095 rolls for a grand total of 4,096, the exact odds of finding a shiny, you still wouldn't be guaranteed a shiny every encounter. In fact, you would only have a 63% chance of encountering a shiny, or roughly every 1.6 encounters. These added shiny rolls are obviously still valuable, but they do become less and less valuable with every one added, and they come at a cost, which leads us to our second problem, the Shiny Alpha. Since shiny hunting has never been more accessible in any Pokemon game in history, players now have boxes that look like this. Dozens, if not hundreds of shinies stockpiled that they no longer need and nobody else wants, which leads to 3 potential options: releasing shinies, stopping catching the shinies, or becoming pickier. So many in the community have shifted away from just shiny hunting and now focusing solely on shiny alpha Pokemon. And if you're one of these hunters, then I'm talking directly to you. So we've covered Sparkling Power and how it's good, but it becomes less and less valuable the more rolls that you have. But there's another sweet flavor power that can help us specifically for hunting these shiny alphas, and that is alpha power. I'm gonna put a graphic on screen, and as you can see, without the shiny charm, sparkling power is incredible. That's a 50%, 33%, and 25% reduction in hunt time for every level of sparkling power that you add. So the first level cuts your hunts in half, and then the next one is an additional third, and the next one is an additional quarter. These are good, but you see they start to get lower and lower, impacting your hunt less and less every time. But with the shiny charm, those levels start even lower and continue to diminish. 20%, 16.6%, and 14.28%. Still meaningful, but just less significant. Now compare that to alpha power. It's not even close. The worst reduction that you see in alpha power is the best reduction that you will see with sparkling power. Alpha power doesn't suffer from the same diminishing returns that sparkling power does. Each added level is a massive boon. And that's because you're not re-rolling the same bad odds. It's fundamentally changing the odds that you experience with alpha power. But here's the stat that absolutely blew my mind, and most people are still unaware of because I see it in the comments. If you were to downgrade your shiny hunting donut from sparkling power level 3 and alpha power level 2 to just using alpha power level 3, you would see a 28% improvement in your odds. That's right, improvement. Your odds get better by dropping sparkling power and upgrading your alpha power from 2 to 3. Now, there is still a really good use case for sparkling power level 3 donuts that have alpha power, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna flash the full probability table on screen for anyone that's curious what every combination looks like as far as shiny alpha encounter rates. But the big takeaway is that for the cost of a single sweet flavor power, you can outperform what most people spend 2 flavor powers doing. And with that knowledge, we can take advantage of that in a few cool ways, but we'll get to that. First, we need to discuss why it's not just the math holding you back, but also the mechanics under the hood of the game's programming. The same mechanic that is meant to help you and allows you to perform AFK shiny hunting in this game is also working against you with these focused shiny alpha hunts. If you encounter a shiny Pokemon, the game saves that encounter to its memory, up to 10 total shinies. And once a shiny Pokemon is rolled, it stops rolling that spawn. It's now locked. This is a great feature. If you run past a shiny and don't realize that it's there, it's okay. You didn't miss out on it like in other games. It's saved. You can come back and experience that find later. But in hyperspace, when you're limited to just 6 encounters in a particular cluster, we run into some problems. Let me paint you a picture of what this might look like. You've got the shiny charm, you've got your sparkling power level 3, you've maxed out your odds, you're feeling great. Why shouldn't you? You find a cluster of that particular Pokemon that you wanted to shiny hunt, and boom, look at that. First encounter, shiny. That sparkling power level 3 forces one Pokemon, the first one that spawns, to match the type of sparkling power that you have to be shiny. You were lucky enough, it matched your particular target. That's awesome, but it wasn't alpha. No big deal. You've got 5 more spawns. You start resetting, you start hunting, and slowly but surely, one after another, they begin to sparkle until you are staring at a full cluster of 6 Pokemon, all shiny, none of them alpha. And here's the gut punch. That is now locked. You cannot re-roll those to get your shiny alpha. It is now physically impossible for you to roll a shiny alpha in that spawn pool until you remove those 6 shinies from the game's memory by either catching them, knocking them out, or finding 5 more shinies to force one of them to be overwritten. Or you have to simply start over again and reload from your backup save. But that's just bad luck, you're probably thinking. That doesn't happen that often. Well, with the shiny hunting methods we're going to be talking about, it actually happens quite a bit. And as Bruno Mars once famously said, "Don't believe me? Just watch." I'm going to take this sparkling power normal level 3 donut into this hyperspace hole containing Igglybuff and completely brick the spawns. And just like that, we've got 6 shiny Igglybuff, one entire cluster completely populated with shinies and not a single alpha. And if what I've been saying is true, this is now locked. We are not going to be able to get any shiny alphas out of this. But how can we be sure? Well, if we look at the levels and genders of the Igglybuff that we have here, we can see a level 112 male, a level 113 female, a level 114 female, and 3 level 112 females. And if we fly and reset, come back, we can check the levels and genders again and see if they match. We can try resetting one more time just for good measure, see if anything changes. But once again, we are going to find that these Igglybuff are the exact same level and gender, meaning that they are completely locked. They are not going anywhere. On and on, we can keep hunting this cluster over and over until we're blue in the face or our donut runs out of calories. But we will never find a shiny Alpha Igglybuff until we remove those 6 from the game's memory. In this configuration of Sparkling Power level 3 and no Alpha Power, you have a 94% chance of completely polluting your spawn pool and bricking your cluster so that you cannot encounter a shiny alpha. Even with Alpha Power level 1, you're bricking these clusters 50% of the time. But all things considered, that is a pretty good improvement. It's not until Alpha Power level 2 that you are an odds-on favorite to encounter your shiny alpha Pokemon, with only a 24% chance of bricking the cluster. That's about 1 in 4 times, which is a lot more tolerable. But at Alpha Power level 3, where you have a 51% chance of any Pokemon spawning in as an alpha, you have a 1% chance of getting so unlucky that you actually brick your cluster. Alpha Power alone has the ability to flip your hunts from a 95% chance of failure to a 99% chance of success. And here's what this means in terms of real world time. If we use the numbers from my perfect berry farming video, we know that it takes about 20 minutes to get the perfect berry farming donut, which is the Big Haul level 3 and Berry Power level 3 donut. It takes longer to make a Sparkling Power level 3 donut, but that's a topic for a future video. We'll get into that later. And based on the information in this video, that might actually be a good thing. Anyway, for the sake of the argument, we will use 20 minutes as the baseline for the time that it takes to get your Sparkling Power level 3 and Alpha Power level 3 donut using the 8 Tanga Berry recipe. That means if the Pokemon you're hunting has 2 different types, it's going to take you about 20 minutes to get a donut with the right Sparkling Power for that Pokemon. But if it only has 1 type, that drops you down closer to 30 minutes. This factors in you needing 3 of the 19 possible Sparkling types, the 2 types of your Pokemon plus all types, to shiny hunt the dual type, and 2 of the available Sparkling Powers of the 19, your mono type plus all types, to hunt your mono type target. Meaning you already spent 20 to 30 minutes hunting your target by just re-rolling donuts before actually attempting to hunt your target. Instead, you could just spend a couple of minutes, take away the first Alpha Power level 3 donut that you find, even if it's the wrong Sparkling Power, and use that to hunt your target. Let's be generous to the perfect recipe and say that this takes you 5 minutes. In reality, it's a little bit less, but for the sake of the argument, we're going to stick with 5 minutes. The slowest shiny hunting method that I'm going to show you is 5.5 seconds to respawn a cluster of Pokemon. This is going to favor the perfect shiny hunting donut because longer cycle times are favored with better odds because that is fewer attempts and fewer resets that are required. But putting both of these times together, both the time that it takes for you to make the donut and the time that it takes for you to hunt your shiny, just the Alpha Power level 3 donut comes out about 3 minutes or 7% faster. And remember, that was with steel manning the perfect donut recipe. With the shiny hunting methods that we're going to be talking about, you're going to be seeing tens of thousands of spawns per donut. At those volumes, the grind for the perfect donut is completely unnecessary. There are 4 main shiny hunting methods available to you in hyperspace, but we're just going to throw out the first one immediately, which is running back and forth to trigger spawns and despawns. It's slow, it's time consuming for you as a player, and it costs you a ton of calories, severely limiting the number of encounters that you get on a single donut. This method should only be used when shiny hunting the legendaries, except for Terrakion. Shout out that one teleporter pad, you know what I'm talking about. There are just objectively better ways for regular spawns, so don't waste your time with this one. The first real method that we're going to talk about involves a mechanic that I mentioned earlier with the forced or the guaranteed shiny that you get from Sparkling Power level 3. You may have even been yelling at your screen saying that I haven't been giving Sparkling Power level 3 its fair shake because of this mechanic, and you're right. This is where that mechanic really shines. If you don't know, when you enter hyperspace with Sparkling Power level 3, the game actually forces the very first Pokemon to spawn that matches your Sparkling Power type to be shiny. But there's a catch. There can be anywhere from 3 to 6 different species of Pokemon, even more when regional variants are involved, in any given hyperspace hole. So if you enter your 5-star fire hyperspace hole with your Sparkling Power Fire donut because you want a shiny Charizard, you have no no control over which of the Pokemon will spawn in first and be your shiny, which is exactly why we wouldn't use a Sparkling Power Fire donut in that 5-star hyperspace hole. Crazy? Maybe, but let me explain. This first method is the isolation encounter method. This is where Sparkling Power level 3 truly shines and you get to choose which shiny spawns in your game. The 5-star hyperspace hole that we've been talking about contains 6 different species of Pokemon. 3 of the fire starters in Charmander, Torchic, and Fennekin, and their final evolutions in Charizard, Blaziken, and Delphox. See, if we use Sparkling Power Fire on this hyperspace hole, the game will force one of the fire types to spawn in as shiny. But that could be any of the 6 Pokemon available in this hyperspace hole. If instead we were to use Sparkling Power Flying, well, Charizard is the only flying type in this hyperspace hole. So when we spawn in, we are guaranteed that Charizard will be our shiny. The same can be said with a Fighting Power donut for Blaziken and a Psychic Power donut for Delphox. What happens if you spawn in and that shiny isn't an alpha? Simple. You just reset, load from a backup save, and try it again. Even with the best possible odds, your chances of getting a shiny alpha Pokemon with Sparkling Power level 3 and Alpha Power level 3 are less than 1 in 1,000. But with this method, you take those odds and you make them as bad as 1 in 10 with Alpha Power level 1 to as good as 1 in 2 with Alpha Power level 3. You're no longer fighting against Sparkling Power polluting your spawns, you're actually exploiting it. This is the go-to shiny hunting method if you want a specific Pokemon with Sparkling Power level 3. I actually did a full video covering this topic, including a spreadsheet that shows all of the possible hyperspace wild zones, excluding those large multi-type zones that you see, denoting which Pokemon can be isolated with what type and which Pokemon you can hunt given the Sparkling Power donuts that you currently have in your inventory. I'm gonna link that down below. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I don't have Sparkling Power level 3. You just spent all this time telling me not to grind for it. So what am I doing now? Don't worry, that's where these next 2 methods come in. You're likely very familiar with the fly spam method, but in case you're not, it goes a little something like this. Press start, hit A a bunch of times, repeat. Every time you fly within the hyperspace hole, it resets all of the spawns 50 meters from your character's spawn point. Some hyperspace holes aren't very kind to this method. You essentially spawn in on top of a cluster, and when you're hunting alphas, those spawns can become aggressive and prevent you from flying. But there are some other hyperspace holes where this method is amazing. This hyperspace hole in particular is the best for it. All 3 Pokemon clusters are within range when you fly spam, and you can hunt all 3 Pokemon simultaneously. You can cycle these fast. On the Switch 2, 1 cycle is about 4.5 seconds. And it has very little uptime in the overworld, so it costs you very few calories per reset. You can get well over 1,000 cycles with this strategy on a single donut, and that's tens of thousands of spawns available to you on a single donut before you have to craft another one. You will find lots of shinies with this method. And if you want to learn how to program this as a macro so the game can be running this in the background while you do something else, I'll link a tutorial video up above. But the downside with this method is that you kind of have to take what the game gives you. Every time you fly, the game lays down an autosave. So every time you spawn, the game saves and it locks in exactly what you've got. So if you don't like some of the spawns that you've gotten, you unfortunately have to load from a backup save, which will erase all of the progress that you've made on this particular hunt, including any of the isolated encounters that you may have been manipulating before starting your fly spam. It's a double whammy. It's incredibly fast, but it comes at that cost. But what if you want to be more surgical? You're looking for a shiny alpha living dex. You need multiple shiny alphas of a particular family. Well, what do you do then? You can't just keep taking what the game gives you. You want to choose the specific targets that you're looking for. Well, then this last method is for you. This is the teleporter method, and it is my absolute favorite. You may have noticed all around hyperspace the little teleporter pads on the ground. Well, sometimes these teleporter pads align perfectly with the cluster. One pad is within 50 meters of a cluster, so when you arrive on it, it forces spawns, and then the next one that it's linked to is more than 70 meters away, so when you arrive on it, it triggers despawns. Sometimes these pads can even be lined up to cycle 2, 3, maybe even 4 clusters at once. And all it takes to use this method is repeatedly pressing A. This is one that doesn't require a macro controller. You can just mindly button mash A on your couch while you're watching TV. You can even set up just a regular turbo controller to turbo A and shiny hunt AFK. For example, I ended up with 3 shiny Alpha Porygon, 4 shiny Alpha Audino, all from the same hyperspace hole, the same donut, using 1 teleporter pad and Sparkling Power Power Dragon. Yeah, I used Dragon to hunt these normal types because we see so many spawns that the Sparkling Power type doesn't really matter. All that really matters is your Alpha Power level 3 maximizing the odds. You are seeing so many spawns that all you're trying to do is get in there and roll the dice as many times as you can. Or take this Flamigo hunt. I used Alpha Power level 2 and a couple of flavor powers that had nothing to do with the hunt at all. And I still ended up with the Shiny Alpha just after a couple of hours of resetting and going on a dog walk. Because this method doesn't trigger an autosave, you get to choose which checkpoints you want to use. Once you've re-rolled the correct spawns to be where you want them to be for your specific teleporter, lay down your hard save. If you start getting shinies that aren't your alphas, just do a regular reload. Don't load from backup saves, just load the game normally, and all those shinies are gone, your calories are back, and you can continue. If you get the shiny alpha that you're looking for, you can catch it, go back, lock it in, and continue hunting. This is how you can stack chains of shiny alphas of a particular species that you're looking for, all within one donut. There's no risk to you polluting your spawns because you are actively managing them as they come in. You can do this AFK, but you can also just keep checking up on it after an hour or so, see what you've got, manage it accordingly, and continue. You'll notice each cycle with this method is a little bit longer than the fly spam, about 5.5 seconds per cycle. But you'll also notice it consumes significantly fewer calories. We were going through about 1 calorie per cycle in this 2-star hyperspace hole with the fly spam method, whereas now with the teleporter method, we're going through about 1 calorie per 10 cycles. This is because the calorie counter stops moving during the entirety of the teleportation animation. This method is actually so calorie conscious that in 1-star and 2-star hyperspace holes, it takes more than 8 hours to consume all of the calories on a 5-star donut. This means you can set this up, go to bed, and this will be shiny hunting in your sleep, and you'll just wake up to 10 shinies. This method really is the best of both worlds. It's so passive that you can do it in your sleep, but it's also allowing you to actively manage your spawns as they come in and prune off the spawns that you didn't want and really target the Pokemon that you want to shiny hunt. Now, obviously you're not boxed into only choosing one of these shiny hunting methods. We're not Team Fly Spam or Team Teleporter. These are just tools in your toolkit. If you have Sparkling Power level 3, you should be using the Isolation Encounter method and re-rolling your guaranteed shiny to be something that you want, and then choosing Fly Spam or Teleporter based off of the hyperspace hole that you find yourself in and what's going to work best. If you're on a map that's great for fly spamming, you should take advantage of that. If you're on a map that spawns you right on top of a horde of angry Slowpoke, then you should probably avoid that and you should use the teleporter method instead. It's all about being flexible and using the right tool for the job. And with more tools in your toolkit, you can stop resetting for the absolutely perfect donut and start spending more time actually shiny hunting and take some of that time and apply it towards getting the results that you actually care about, the shinies, not the perfect donut. Now that you know you don't actually need Sparkling Power and you really just need Alpha Power if you're serious about hunting shiny alphas, we can get creative with some of our donut recipes. We can start slapping on some of the other flavor powers like the favorites of Big Halt and Berry Power level 3 from the sour flavor profile and turn our shiny hunting donuts into berry farming donuts and combine the two together and farm berries and hunt shinies at the same time. If you want to learn more about that, check out the video here where I'm going to break down not just the exact recipe to do this, but I'm going to do so without using any of your Tanga berries. I'll see you there.